Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are solving Leetcode problem number 219, which is contain duplicate second. So what actually we have to do in this question is we have an integer array and also we have an integer k, and we have to return true or false, and we have to check these condition like if nums of I equals to nums of j, and also we have to check their indices. Their subtraction of their indices is going to be less than equals to k, right? So we have these two condition. On these basis of these two condition, we have to return true or false, right? So what actually I'm going to do in this question is I'm going to solve this question by applying a hash map, right? Actually this question is of sliding window, right? You can solve this question by sliding window, but the fact is that if you will solve this question by sliding window, the time complexity is going to be big O of n, and also if you're going to solve this problem by hash map, so we have a time complexity which is going to be big O of n only, so both are same. So I'm going to solve this by hash map. So what actually I'm going to do, I'm going to take a dictionary. I'm going to take a dictionary like this. I'm going to take initially an empty dictionary and also a pointer, which is initially going to point our first number. And now I'm going to check that whether this number is already there in my dictionary or not. So if this number, if our eye is pointing this number, right, and if this number is not in our dictionary, so all you need to do is to add this number in our dictionary. So right now it is not in my dictionary, so I'm going to add this number in my dictionary and also their index as their value, right? So I'm going to add their index. It's going to be 0, and now I'm going to move my pointer ahead by 1, right? So I'm going to move it ahead by 1. Let's rub this, and I'm going to move it ahead by 1. Now my eye is pointing 2, right? So now I'm going to check it again that whether this number is already there in my dictionary. So right now 2 is not there in my dictionary, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this 2 in my dictionary and also their index, which is going to be equals to 1, right? So I'm storing the number or their indexes respectively, and now I'm going to move my pointer again ahead by 1, and now I'm going to check it again that whether this number is there in my dictionary. So right now it is not in my dictionary, so all you need to do is to add this number inside our dictionary and also their index, which is going to be equals to 2, and we have to move our pointer, which is going to be 1. Now the moment comes that actually we have to apply our condition, right? So 1, now our eye is pointing 1, and 1 is already there in our dictionary. If you're going to see, 1 is already there in our dictionary, and we have already found this 1 at index 0, right? So we have 1 which is already there in our dictionary. So what we have to do in this case, or at this moment, what we have to do, we have to apply these conditions which is mentioned in our question, right? We have to apply these conditions. So what the first condition is, nums of I equals to nums of j, means we have to check that whether this pointer, whether this number, means this number is equals to this number. Yes, it is dictionary, right? So we get yes. So yeah, this number is equals to this number. Now the second condition is we have to check the difference of their indices, which is going to be less than equals to k. So if I'm going to check like I'm going to check the indices, which is going to be I, and also we have the previous index, which is going to be 0. So now I'm going to subtract these numbers, which is going to be I minus 0, right? So I is actually 0, 1, 2, 3. So I is 3. So if I'm going to do like 3 minus 0, right, I'm subtracting this previous value, right? So 3 minus 0, which is equals to 3, right, and which is going to be equals to k. So if it is equals to k, so all you need to do, you have to return true at that moment only, right? So we have to return true in this case, right? So let's take one more example to make it more clear. So now again I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take a dictionary, right? I'm going to take an empty dictionary, there I'm going to add some elements, and also I'm going to take a pointer, which is going to be 0.1. Now I'm going to check that whether this number is there in my dictionary. No, it is not there in my dictionary, so I'm going to add this number and also their index, which is going to be equals to 0. And now we're going to check it again. We're going to move our pointer ahead. I'm going to move it ahead, like now my pointer is pointing this number, which is going to be 0. Now we're going to check that whether this 0 is present our dictionary or not. So if it is not present in our dictionary, right, so what we have to do, we have to add this number. Okay, I'm going to add this 0 and also their index, which is going to be equals to 1. And now I'm going to move my pointer ahead by 1. Now we're going to check. Now the moment come that we have to apply some conditions, right? So we know that 1 is already there in my dictionary, right? So, and also 1 is equals to 1, right, and already there in my dictionary. So all we have to do, we have to check their indices, right? We have to check the subtraction of their indices, which is going to be equals to or less than equals to k or not. So what we're going to do, we're going to subtract the indices, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, which is going to be 2, and we have 1. We found 1 previously at 0th index, so we get 0. So 2 minus 0, which is equals to 2, right? And in this case 2 is greater than k, right, because k is 1, so 2 is greater than k. So all you need to do, means this condition is false, right, so we don't have to return true. So all you need to do is to update our previous value to recent value, right? So k1 is already there in our dictionary, and now we get again 1 in our dictionary, again 1, right? And the subtraction is not you can say less than equals to k, right? So if it is not equals to less than equals to k, all you need to do is to update our previous value to recent value, recent index, which is equals to 0, 1 and 2, right? So I'm going to update my previous index to recent index if our condition is not fulfilling, and we're going to get those one again, right? And now what we have to do, we have to move our pointer ahead. So now I'm going to move my pointer ahead, which is equal, which is this, right? And now we have to check it again that whether this 1 is there in our dictionary. So yes, 1 is there in our dictionary, right? 1 is already present in our dictionary at indexed 2, right? So yet yes, it is present in our dictionary. So now we're going to check the next condition, their subtraction of their indices, which is going to be less than equals to k or not. So let's check their next condition. Right now I is 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So I is 3, and previously we get 1 at second index. So I'm going to subtract 2 from it, which is going to be equals to 1, and 1 is equals to k, right? So right now I get those number, right? I get the number whose subtraction is equals to 1. So I get the number who's going to be fulfilling these two condition, right? I get this number. So all you need to do at that moment only, you have to return true, right? At that moment only you have to return true, right? So here we come to know that if that number is there in our dictionary, okay, for example in this case, if I'm going to get this one, right? So if already there in our dictionary and we are not fulfilling the second condition, which is the subtraction of their indices not less than equals to k, so at that moment we have to update our previous index to recent index what initially we get. Okay, so in that case we have to do the updation. And now if the both condition is fulfilling, so that in that case what we have to do, we have to return true. Okay, at that moment only we have to return true. Now let's take one more example. I'm going to take it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take an empty dictionary, and also I'm going to take a pointer. And now let's check 1 is present in our dictionary. No, 1 is not there. So I'm going to add 1, and also their index going to be their value, which is going to be 0. And now I'm going to move my pointer ahead by 1, which is going to be, okay, why I'm writing a, instead of a, I have to write 1, right? Yes. And now I'm going to move my pointer ahead, and now my pointer is going to be point to 2, right? So now let's check, 2 is there in my dictionary. No, 2 is not there in my dictionary. So all you need to do is to add this 2, and also their index is, which is going to be equals to 1, right? And now let's move our pointer ahead, which is going to be equals to 3, and also we're going to check that 3 is present in our dictionary. No, 3 is not there. So all you need to do is to add this number which is going to be present at second index. And now the moment come that we have to apply condition, right? So now we're going to check this 1, right? So whether this number is there in our dictionary. Yes, 1 is already there in our dictionary at 0th index, right? So now we're going to move to the second condition, that whether their subtraction of their indices is going to be less than equals to k or not. So the index is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm going to subtract like 3 minus 0, which is going to be equals to 3, right? So I'm going to check that 3 is going to be less than equals to k. No, 3 is not less than equals to k, right? So if it is not less than equals to k, so all you need to do, you have to do the updation, right? You have to do the updation. So I'm going to update this value their key, which is going to be the recent key I get, which is equals to 0 1 2 3, right? So I'm going to update this value, right? I'm going to do the updation if the condition is not fulfilling, and now I'm going to move my pointer ahead by 1, right? I'm going to move my pointer ahead. Now it is pointing 2, right? Okay, now let's do the again. So 2 is already there in our dictionary, right? 2 is already there in our dictionary. So what we have to do, we have to move to the second condition, the subtraction of their indices. We have to check the subtraction of their indices. So initially I get 2 at first index, right? And now we're going to get again 2 at 1 2 3 4 fifth index, right? So I'm going to subtract it like 5 minus 1, which is equals to 4, and which is definitely not going to be less than equals to 2. So if it is not less than equals to 2, or you can say k, so what you have to do, you have to update our key value pairs, right? I mean their key. Okay, and now what we have to do, we're gonna have to move our I pointer ahead by 1, right? So I'm gonna move it ahead by 1. Now this pointing to 3, right? So now we're gonna check it again whether this 3 is there in our dictionary. So yes, it is in our dictionary, and we'll also find found over 3 at index 2, right? So what you have to do, you have to move to the second condition, which is their subtraction of their indices is less than equals to k or not. So what we're going to do, we're going to subtract their indices. Now the I is equals to 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So I is equals to 6, and we have 3 pointing. Initially we're going to get 3 at index 2, right? So I'm going to subtract 2 from it, which is going to be equals to 4, and 4 is obviously greater than equals to k. So nothing you have to do. All you have to do is to just update this number to from you can say 2 to 6, right? So all you have to do is this. And in that case, if our I pointer is already been iterated and already been you can say pointing to the last number, so in that case what we have to do, we have to stop here, and you can see that we don't get those number, right? Who's going to be fulfilling our conditions, right? So if we didn't get those numbers, all you need to do is to just return false, right? So in this case, what we have to do, you have to return false, right? So this is how we have to do. So I'm going to repeat this process again. What we are doing in this question is we are iterating our nums and checking again and again that whether this number in our dictionary or not. So if our number is not exist in our dictionary, so what we are doing, we are actually adding that number in our dictionary, and also their key, right? Their index is going to be their key, right? So I'm storing their index or value. Okay, both are. I'm storing both these index or value, right? And I'm going to check it again and again, and if I'm going to get a number which is already there in our dictionary, so in that case I'm going to apply those condition which is mentioned in our question, that whether I'm going to, because we get the first condition is nums of I equals to nums of j, right? So in dictionary we already get, right, because 1 is there, and I'm going to check like 1 is there in our dictionary. Yes, it is there in our dictionary. Okay, now we'll move to the second condition, is the subtraction of I minus j, which is going to be less than equals to k, right? So we're going to subtract their indices, and we're going to check that yes, if it is less than equals to k, so in that case I'm going to return true, and if it is not less than equals to k, so in that case I'm going to update my my previous value to recent value, right? I'm going to update the key, right? I'm going to update the index which is there in key, which is mentioned in our dictionary as a form of key, as a form of value, right? So I'm going to update it. Right, so this is what actually I'm doing in this question, right? And this is how we are solving our problem. So let's see the coding part. Okay, let's see the coding part, how we have to solve this. Okay, so we know that we have to make a dictionary, right? We have to make a dictionary. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to iterate for I in range len of nums, right? I'm going to iterate this integer array, and now I'm going to check like if nums of I in my dictionary, if it is present in my dictionary, and also I'm going to check like if abs of you can say I minus a of nums of I. So what is a of nums of I actually? And a of nums of I is the previous index of that number, right? So this is you know how to get the in you can say value inside dictionary, right? So I'm actually getting the value, right? I'm subtracting the index, right, the previous index. All right, I'm also checking that whether their subtraction is less than equals to k or not, right? So if it is less than, so in that case I'm going to resend, I'm going to return true, right? So in that case I'm going to suddenly return true. And if it is not, and if it is not if it is not fulfilling these conditions, so all you need to do is to just gonna add like this, right? I'm gonna add the key value pairs, right? I'm gonna add the key value pair, and at that moment we're gonna completed our iteration, and we didn't get those number, so all you need to do is to just return false. All right, so let's run this code to check whether this work or not. So yes, it is working, and also submit this code. All right, so this is how you have to solve this question. So yes, it is working also.